Welcome to our weekly program, The Inside Story of Chabad in America through the Midel Archives. I hope everybody had a good Yontif. Now, I want to say today that in the coming weeks, around Gimel Tammuz, I think, a few programs, I want to share with you some documents from the early years when the Rebbe started to send shluchim. And I gathered some very beautiful documents, what shluchim wrote to the Rebbe, and what the Rebbe answered in the early years. Different than today. They went through hardships then. Now, Baruch Hashem, not everybody, but many shluchim, Baruch Hashem, are well off. Many not. But then everybody wasn't, it was different times. This was in the early 50s. So I gathered some. So in Mitzvah Hashem, around Gimel Tammuz, I hope to share some with you. Amazing letters, what shluchim wrote to the Rebbe, and what the Rebbe answered. Also, the Rebbe, being a manig ha'olam, as we once spoke, that the Rebbe wore 3 crowns. He wore the crown of a manig Chabad, manig of all Yidden, and also manig ha'olam. And that's why he worried about Shabbat Mitzvahs, B'nai Noach. And the Rebbe worried about everybody. And the Rebbe wrote letters to different people. The Rebbe helped different people. Let's say, the Young Israel movement, the Rebbe helped a lot. Olameinu, they came out, Olameinu, or Rab Kamenetsky, asked the Rebbe for money. This is something very important now. The Rebbe, Olameinu, it's not, this was after Talks and Tales. And was still, but we had Talks and Tales, but Olameinu, still, if somebody wants to come out with something good, the Rebbe helped him. Litvische, Chassidische. So sometimes the Rebbe criticized, constructive criticism, but he criticized Chabad, and he also criticized the other, why they don't do enough. The Rebbe always wanted that you do more and more and more. But today, I just want to, as a taste, a glimpse of something about the Shliach, or what the Rebbe said about Shluchim, about a Shliach. And this is not what I want to share with you, but I do want to say, read to you today something how the Rebbe felt, how we have to treat shluchim, a shliach. But before that, I want to read to you a letter. To me, it's shocking. A telegram that the Rebbe wrote this was in the early 50s. And apparently, I don't know if he was a shliach, but he was definitely spreading Yiddishkeit. So he was, I guess, religious. I don't know. And he wrote, and this is an answer. I'm not going to tell you what he wrote, but you'll understand after I read you this short telegram. He writes like this: the Rebbe. It is absolutely forbidden, Isur Gomor, to travel Yom Tov, to blow shofar, or read Torah, or conduct any congregational service. Therefore, unless you can spend Rosh Hashanah near congregation, Chas v'Sholem, to desecrate Yom Tov by traveling even for above purposes. He's talking about Yom Tov, not Shabbos. May Hashem grant you Hatzlocha in fulfilling mitzvahs and spreading Yiddishkeit, but not Chas v'Sholem in wrong and contrary way, with blessing for truly good and sweet year. And the Rebbe signs his name. This telegram was shocking to me. He wouldn't ask about Shabbos, but Yom Tov he asks. How can he? And he was spreading Yiddishkeit, according to what the Rebbe says. So here is a lesson, and the Rebbe writes in another place, and this was also, I'll share with you after Gimel Tammuz. We have to be frum. People go out into the world, into deserts. Esviva is spoiled. Shluchim go out, and their families, they have to know that the end does not justify the means. The means that probably this person saw, it was Yontif, I don't know Yontif, and maybe he knows that he's going to be Mekarev, bring closer so many Yidden by listening to Shofar or by going to Hakofis or whatever it is, that he wanted to do so much, and he thought maybe that's what I think. Maybe he can go somehow travel with a car, a bicycle. I don't know. Maybe it was a bicycle. I'm not sure. I'm shocked. I don't know what that means. But this is the Rebbe's. This is a telegram. So you have to know that the end does not justify the means. L'moshel, also, there are letters which I'm not going to share with you today. And Shluchim, as the Rebbe, they have Shabbos, the boys, girls come together. Girls sing on the Shabbos table. You're not allowed to. You can't sit in a table where girls are singing because that's against halacha. Midav zayin frum. Once there was a Maise, heard from my Zayde, I think, the Rebbe Rashab was reading a pidyon. Somebody came in with a zettel, reading a pidyon. And he was waiting for the answer. So the Rebbe Rashab was reading, didn't answer him, didn't say a word. And he was standing, he says, until he saw that he has to go out. I mean, he doesn't answer. He went out. He was standing a long time, he went out. So he spoke to the Gabbai, or I don't know who it was then. I don't know who the Gabbai was. And he told him. He didn't know himself, so he found out. Maybe he has the Rebbe, maybe he didn't, I don't know. He says, where did you get that paper from? He was thinking, what do you mean the paper? He was in somebody's house, apparently. That's what happened. And he took a piece of paper, he wrote a pidyon. The Rebbe Rashab saw, I guess, that this pidyon was a pidyon, but it was not his paper. He took it from somebody's house. He couldn't answer. It means you want a bracha, but you have to have a bracha through a correct way, not to gneva. If it was gneva, I don't know, or stealing or whatever it is. You can't do mitzvahim. You can't go and be mikusha to the Rebbe at the same time. You're going to embarrass somebody else because somebody else doesn't feel or doesn't hold like you hold. At the same time, it doesn't click. So you have to be very careful that when you do something, it has to be that the end do not justify the means. You can't drive a car in Shabbos or Yom Tov, even though you'll get. Who knows? You can become Mekarev, you can become 100% Baal Tshuva. You're not allowed to do it. This is a very important inyan that the Rebbe, which I will share with you, Mitzvah Hashem, after Gimel Tammuz. Here I have here a letter that I want to share with you. I'm not going to say the city, and I'm not going to tell you the name of the of the shliach. But I'm just going to read the letter without saying where it is. This is stop a glimpse how the Rebbe protected shluchim. The Rebbe writes like this: 5741. I was surprised to receive a letter and painfully astonished at the contact from beginning to end. It is difficult to reconcile your seemingly deep concern for Yiddishkeit in that city, the Rebbe writes the city, and for living in harmony with the abrasive tenor of your letter. Particularly puzzling is your statement. Do you honestly think and feel it is right for us to be subjected to only Lubavitch thinking? Anyone who knows about Lubavitch thinking knows that subjecting, quote unquote, others is alien to it as it is alien to the Torah, whose ways are ways of pleasantness and all its paths are peace. As for your reference to Rabbi, and he mentions the name of the Shliach in particular, and your charges that after so many years in the city, the Rabbi mentions the city, Nothing has been accomplished except a Chabad house lately. This is completely at variance with my information. According to the reports I have received through the years, Rabbi, in the name of the Shliach, was instrumental and highly instrumental in many communal endeavors and leading educational institutions such as, and the Rebbe mentions what institutions, and in organizing various activities such as Torah classes for adults, work with the Russian immigrants, to mention but some of the work which has helped to improve substantially the whole complexion of Yiddishkeit in that city. The Rebbe mentions the name of the city. I use the past tense only because he started doing these things many years ago, but he's still very actively involved in many activities, and I understand is active also in the administration in leading Torah institutions in your city. However, since you so categorically deny any such activities, I must ask you to be good enough to send in writing specific data refuting any and all claims that this shliach may have an achievement in the area of strengthening and spreading Yiddishkeit in the city, so that I could confront with this document all those who have been misinforming me on these issue all these years. Needless to say, since you were so outspoken in your critical remarks, finding not one good word for Lubavitch in that city, I trust you will be just as outspoken in documenting your charges or recanting them in the event that you find on closer it's erased over here. The word is erased. That the charges were without foundation. And then he writes about other things which is not important to say. I just wanted to mention how the Rebbe was protected very much. He couldn't take when somebody wrote against the Shliach. Here is another letter. I just want to show you a glimpse about about Shluchim. This is a letter to the Young Israel, National Council of Young Israel. Somebody writes about Chabad, also Shluchim. So I'm going to start in the middle of the letter, because before it was private. The Chabad emissaries who are sent to various parts of the country to revitalize Yiddishkeit are generally capable and energetic young men, all of whom perhaps, with very few exceptions, could have obtained easier and better positioned elsewhere, better not only in pay, but also, and more importantly, in terms of Jewish environment, with less problems about keeping Yiddishkeit with all the Hidurim they are used to, and about the chinuch of their children. Nevertheless, they forego all these advantages in the hope that they can accomplish something in bringing new life into statement and different states of Yiddishkeit in places where this has been neglected. In some places it has been a case where there had been askonim and spiritual leaders, but these had abandoned their flock, removing themselves to larger Jewish centers in order to make it easier their own circumstances Jewishly, or also out of considerations, deprived of their leadership and encouragement. Those left behind quickly moved away from Yiddishkeit. I am not speaking of Askonim and Balabatim who do not appreciate the importance of Yiddishkeit, but of such that are well aware of it, and aware also that he who saves a single Jewish life is deemed to have saved a whole world.